Two. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Lord said, confession good for the soul. So right now, all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. And shot call. To be known with them niggas letting shots off. Either that or the right hand to the top dog. Funny how we see vanity, not the lives lost. Can't be focused on a life that's hopeless. Out there pumping, not knowing the Lord will kill you for that hocus pocus. Used to roll with niggas that cook dope with weaponry. Same ones claim they love you. I had no life in jeopardy. And I know my mother wants success with me. But that G should take a girl straight to ecstasy. Remember running with bruh, even though we did the wrong thing. My life would been a lot different if I fell up under Rob's wing. Was too sincere for a wicked game. Shame the Lord's name. Now we afflicted with pain. All I ever wanted was to be respected by stand-up niggas, not knowing that them handcuffs ain't the fact. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. I was just a stranger. All I wanted was to be a gangster. I ain't lying, I was close to dying. Knew I wanted to live, but I wasn't trying. I was defiant. This just how they design. Cause when you in the streets, you get more. Then they don't tell you won't be on papers and on restrictions. My father said a hard head to make a soft ass. I didn't care, I wanted fear when I walked past. In the place where a black man's blood is cheap. I thank the Lord for the day I was on Lake Street. Pissing in the cup, back and forth to court, found the DC school. I swear it felt like I crowd on that. Deep down, hear my voice. Ask me why I'm U.P.K. I told them I ain't have a choice. They said God ain't 50-50 and what's gonna come to pass. The Lord called me out the world and that's how I run it fast. All it was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all. I was in danger. Decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. Want to be a gangster? I.S.U.P.K until it hit the fan. I want power and a throne, nigga. Fuck them grams. All I wanted was to be a gangster, but I was real as a righteous man. And now got the upper hand. Gotta promote this brand. Correct whole multitudes until they all understand. If I can't get that crown, Lord, then put me in the hands of someone more mighty and make me this hit man. Reminiscing on the pain that was felt. Shit, I was in the jail. Shit, I needed help. For 12 was locked up in the jaws. Put man on the shelf. Every crack as it felt like I was left by myself. All I wanted was to impress niggas with my grinding. Now I ain't trying to prove shit to nobody but Muhammad. Cause most these niggas lying by the smoke. One time for the most high, he made me a cutthroat. Cause all I ever wanted was to smash my opponents. On hand, stacking cash, not knowing it wouldn't last. Cause all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. The decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. All I ever wanted was to be a gangster. Little did I know I was in danger. The decisions that I made provoked the Lord's anger. Prayed to him all the time, and I was just a stranger. know what? Just like you ain't going, like your boy said, it ain't going to happen. Guess what? I'm not letting nobody sell you drugs without me saying that. I'm not going to. My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain, ain't a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packs. I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues, but it's been time smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Feel like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good record. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Just when you in hell, how did you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I don't believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling it cause, but knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword, with a style that they might just record. The only thing equal is the curse for the wicked and the righteous reward. Have mercy on the many, don't see it. Separated from the tares, now on my prayers, and it's so big. A rebel, take the world by word of mouth. U.P.K, we the rebels that you heard about. Yeah, and it ain't gonna stop till 100 virgins in the house, and I'm handing verdicts out. Y'all, these devils hitting licks off us. Fuck the bank, I'm about to start the clock and take it off us. Can't sweet talk, cannot stop us. And plus I know the feds watch us. Tell the people that they church full of witch doctors. Put us in prison and stop violence. Meanwhile, U.P.K turn the rebels into rock wallers. And leave for mighty men. And now we understand things that never truly made sense. Like why I'm crying at this funeral for a criminal. Knowing he ain't innocent, it's fucked up. But my boo shot, standing between two priests, about to blaze on their heads, call it tough love. Look out for niggas just club, and wouldn't touch a white bitch with OJ's black gloves. Father, forgive me for my error. I'm forever by your side, clean and perfect of all my flaws. This the reason I'm alive. Thank God for this truth, cause for a long time was a rebel without a cause. Look, man. First time I'm making Manny GEN.YAHANNA, man, here 3807. Rebel without a cause. My little daughter with me. Open the door, he was dropping the truth on me and all that. Rebel without a cause. Man, you know, you do your time, we taking them out and training the hand-to-hand combat. Rebel without a cause. It's the reason I'm alive. Thank God for this truth, cause for a long time was a rebel without a cause. You cannot hoop us. We're already dead. We're already beaten down. We've been beaten down for 400 years. We already got wounds inside and outside our body. How are you going to hurt us? You cannot threaten us. You cannot frighten us. We live in the most frightening places, under the most frightening conditions. We are immune to fear. We are immune to harm. You see what I'm saying? You have stepped into a cesspool. You're the only one going to get... Stay to make the truth outside. That's why we on the corner. Looking hostile, it's U.P.K style, and stop now. Find this warfare, good last one round. Let the oppressed rise, in the drums there. Dwelling in peace till the Lord call for the blood. Try to decide my death, and got beside yourself. Swore drunk, you perform, how you gon' hide yourself? Devil got to die for his life. Suspended bitches, I got plenty bitch. One thing you think. I'm talking about slaughter, 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 slaughter. they do not rise. Go ahead. For your skin, you gon' die for your crime. That's why I'm talking to you. So run for your life. Your life try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils that they get this still. Slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah. The police just shot him for no apparent reason. No reason at all. They asked for license and registration. That's with the black on. I can't really do shit because they got me handcuffed. I can't believe they just did this. I'm fucking. Try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devils that they get this still. Slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah. You understand? You done found a new breed of Hebrews that's the commandments of the Most High.
Shalom. The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. I'm on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. I'm GEN.YAHANNA. Since 1969, it's lucky. We've been teaching our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, our true identity according to the Bible. Understand, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, or the Lord's chosen people. And according to the scriptures, according to the only God that exists on the face of this earth and throughout the universes, and of course that our oppressor is nothing more than the devil that the Bible speaks of. Today is the night history class, so you can go ahead and share the class. So if you got any questions, leave your comments. So I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. If I can't do so, then I'll one of many mighty men above me. Give me 1 second to share the class. Then we're going to be getting into it. So today we're just have been committed against our nation over the past 400 years, and link it with how it is that we're still going through these same atrocities till this day, with the curses in the Bible, of course. All right, let's get into it. So we'll be starting out in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20 and verse 15. I'll give you a second to get there. All right, let's get into it. It's like book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. So meaning a time will come that if us as a nation don't listen to the voice of the Most High, don't adhere to these scriptures have us to do for generations upon generations, and since the Lord decided to create our nation. So how is it that we chose not to listen to the Lord, back then and today? And it's very simple, and it's by following in the ways of man. By worshiping different gods. By taking part in different European customs like homosexuality, and being rapists and murderers, being drug addicts, alcoholics, drug dealers, a plethora of other things. So one thing we got to recognize as a nation is that with us growing up in America, a nation ran by our oppressor, someone that makes sure that they push their ideals onto us as a nation. We got to realize we are completely, not only Americanized, but Europeanized. And we think like our oppressor, we act like them. We follow in their footsteps because that's all that we've had to look up to for so long. It's like, which is why so many of us out here don't see a problem in following our oppressor's God, and being in Christianity or being Catholic. It's like, which is why so many of us out here don't have a problem in participating in following these other heathen gods. Like African gods, Asian gods, Arab gods, all these different gods that worship elements, in different aspects of life. All these different gods that worship women, things like that, which so many of us still on the res, especially that have traditional beliefs and traditional ways of life. So many of us have these type of gods. Gods where we worship the earth. We think the earth for everything. We believe it to be a separate entity that controls all things. We worship the animals. We believe them to be something that controls all things. For most of us, animals played a part in creating our nation, and showing us certain things that we know how to do, like making fire, gathering water, growing crops, building, things along that nature. We believe the animals have taught us such things, knowing damn well that in all of our years of existence, we have never seen one of these animals come up to us and show us how to build a house, and how to build tools. They haven't showed us how to plant crops, how to harvest fields. They haven't showed us how to gather and purify water. They have shown us none of this. But yet we still so foolishly follow these ways of life, knowing that it's never helped us. It's never caused us to come up above our oppressor. Someone who is just a rabid beast, in the face of this earth. And you know, it's the list just goes on for all the different ways we follow in the way of man, rather than following our own culture, our own customs, which is in this Bible, the law, statutes, and commandments. And rather being a holy nation. To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Understand? So all those things that we just listed, and of course things we didn't list, you understand, that is not following the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments. You understand? He told us not to take other gods, not to, you know, do idolatry. You understand? Not to hate your brother. And the Lord told us to do a plethora of things that us as a nation simply don't heed to. And for the most part, it's because our oppressor says that we don't have to. So our oppressor says it's okay to sit there and, you know, be a homosexual, which in the most recent years, a lot of our people have been, especially on the res. So you got men out here putting on traditional dresses and putting on makeup, going and participating in the different powwows and you know, pageants as women. So you got sisters out here being dykes and, you know, thinking they can hang with men until it is that they get, you know, completely beat up. And that is something that the Lord told us not to do. Saying the Lord told us not to live with the same sex. He told a man not to wear, you know, feminine clothes. He told a woman not to wear masculine clothes. Each gender has their own role. I'm saying male to be masculine, female to be feminine. That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And saying whether we like to believe it or not as a nation, it's like saying we're not just either having, you know, bad luck at things. We're not out here able to, you know, come up and make a difference in America or in any of these other nations upon the face of this earth. See, because the Lord has put curses upon us for defying him. It's lucky. And you can simply look at our nation today. Look at what's happening to us. Look at the state that we're in. And you can't tell me that there's a, you know, not a higher power playing a hand in things out here. Instead, we've been being raped, murdered, you know, made prisoners of war, or put in the jails, been made drug addicts, alcoholics, been had Christianity forced on us. And saying all these different things has been happening to us for 400 years, and we haven't been able to make a difference ourselves. So no matter how much it is that we come together as a nation, no matter how much we reach out to these different nations, expecting for them to have, you know, some type of sympathy for us and looking to, you know, make amends for what it is that they have done in the past. You understand? Our people, we still remain at the very bottom. We still have all these same things that happened 400 years ago are happening to us today. So that's not no coincidence. It's simply because we chose not to listen to the Lord. We chose not to keep the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord told us one day we would choose not to. And by doing so, different curses would come upon us. Going to go to verse 16. Cursed shall thou be in the city. Slacking. So what's some ways we were cursed in the cities back then? I'm saying we're not even going to talk about our own specific cities because we already know there was all kinds of, you know, disease, all kinds of murder, rape, molestation, understand, a whole list of things that had happened to us in our own settlements at the hands of our oppressors, just like they happen today. But we're going to be focusing on how it is that we were cursed in, the land of the free, the home of the brave. In the cities of America, the people that are supposed to be welcoming to all nationalities, to all people, all genders, to all these different cultures. But yet, whenever it is that a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian wants to venture into these cities, wants to try to make a life for ourselves, we end up being crushed and destroyed by our oppressor. So we end up being murdered in the streets. We end up getting profiled and beaten. And then afterwards come to find out, oh, shoot, hey, my bad, we got the wrong person. Instead, you fit the description. And they don't stop after just once or twice of all these things happening, us being profiled and beaten, and us being, mass incarcerated or even murdered. It's been going on throughout the generations. I mean, shoot, since we were able to these different cities scattered across the country, whether it was just for trade, if we were just passing through, it didn't matter what the reason was. Our oppressor always finds a way to oppress us as a people. And until we decide to come back to following the Lord, it's going to continue to happen to us as a nation. And we can do all the praying we want to the ancestors. We can do all the praying to, Christian God, this white God, praying to the earth and the animals, the different spirits out there are expected to change. Because no matter how much we try to join to America and go into her cities and conform to her way of life, whether we're taking up jobs, going to church, being an active member in these different communities, or hell, we can even be, appealing to the government, running for government. It ain't nothing going to change for us. Saying it didn't change before in the past. Saying countless tribal leaders have gone to the U.S. government, traveled all the way to the cities, sitting there trying to seek some type of, we had going on in our own nations. Whether it was, constant raids and murders that was going on, whether it was settlers raping our women and our children, hell, even our men outside of our own cities, our own lands. You're saying whether it was drugs being pushed in, alcohol being, peddled, being brewed. You're saying we would stay going to the U.S. government expecting for some type of change, expecting for these people to, for some reason, just be men of their word. And that's something that's always, just amazed me, how it is that we can stay running to these people after 400 years of broken promises, of empty words, and we still expect for them to do as it is that they said they would. And that just goes to show you how destroyed we are as a nation, that we truly believe that these people all of a sudden would just grow a conscience. All of a sudden they would stop hating us and say, you know what? We have been oppressing the indigenous people of these lands for so long. I'm saying we've been purposefully destroying their communities, destroying their youth, taking land from, poisoning their land if they didn't want to give it to us. We've been pushing Christianity upon them for 400 years. Off of them. Maybe, it's been long enough. I'm saying we really think that these people are going to go and do that. Go and just have that thought process. You can't expect for a wild dog to sit there and be tamed, to be civilized all of a sudden. You understand? Continuing on verse 16. And cursed shall thou be in the field. You understand? There's just so many goddamn examples that can be used for how it is we were cursed throughout the lands, you know, in the fields, in the forests, in the swamps, all these different terrains that we were living in, and our nation, we suffered from diseases, ones of which completely ravaged our lands. It's killing like 90% and up. See, I saw one report that said like 95% and up. Regardless, you know, the diseases that are throughout our lands, whether it was accidental, because, you know, our oppressor being a beast, he just all these different sicknesses oozing from his skin, because, you know, he was infested with all these different, you know, plagues. Whether that was accidental, so you just moving through the land, shook hands with somebody, said, "Oh, hi there, buddy." You understand? Passing through the city, just buying some food, and you spread it, cause it to be spread throughout an entire, you know, state, an entire region, or whether it was purposefully. And we all know our oppressor sat there and gave, you know, disease-infested blankets to our people. You understand? Sitting there purposefully spreading smallpox amongst our people and measles. Saying all these different, you know, diseases and viruses that they knew affected us in a far more drastic way than it affected them. You understand? Yeah, our oppressor, he was sure dying from these diseases, but he built up an immunity to it. And when they arrive over here and they just sit there and kick it next to our, you know, people, kick it next to some natives who foolishly welcome these people with open arms, and they saw, oh, well, you know, these people, they get real sick from smallpox, from measles, from a simple cold. They can't stand that. And their entire, you know, system shuts down. And then they keep that knowledge and pass it down. Pass it down to the next explorer, the next one. Send it back home so everybody in the land knows what it is that is our weaknesses. And by doing so, these people made sure that they continuously hit us with biological warfare. Understand? Leaving never mind. Leaving either, if they claim to be peaceful, would sit there and leave a sick man behind to be treated for his wounds, knowing that it's going to cause a complete and utter outbreak amongst our people. Or whether they infected some type of item, gave it to us as a gift, as a you know, a good gesture, claiming to want peace and prosperity amongst the two people. You're saying they'd go off in the woods and wait until it was that this specific disease sat there and decimated our numbers. Is that our oppressor? He is such a crafty animal. You understand? That slacky. You're saying that animals, we've dealt with them. So we know how to handle every animal of the land. To our oppressor, we think that by giving him all of our love, and we think that by somehow building some type of bond or unity with them, that it's going to keep him from pouncing on us, from attacking, from biting the hand that has fed him. When throughout all of our dwellings, throughout all of our history, and dealing with this specific beast, I mean, never have had peace with them. Skip down to verse 18. So, like, give me 1 second. So, like, all right, verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Saying the fruit of your body or thy body is, you know what I'm saying, your children. You can't sit there and, you know, reproduce a orange up out of your body. You understand? So this right here is talking about, you understand? And I mean, just like how there's no question about how our entire nation was cursed back then when our oppressor would first land these shores, or whether it was a couple hundred years from then and we were being murdered, tortured, taken as slaves, molested. You understand? That's how it is that our youth was cursed. And you can go and find countless, and I mean countless, documentation of not only women being, you know, raped by our oppressor, but you can find countless records of our children being, you know, molested or raped alongside them. Understand? Any city that it was that our oppressor decided to come up upon, he would go out of his way in order to, well, rape our children. You know what I'm saying? And after he got done raping them, he'd murder them, or he'd murder them and rape them, or rape them and torture them. Any type of sadistic act in order to get his rocks off. He said that's the type of people that we dealt with in the past and that we still deal with till this day. And it doesn't matter, you know, how it is that you want to look at it. And that spirit that those wicked bastards had after they would rape and molest our children, it's in that same spirit, it rubs off on you. You understand? And it gets passed down through the generations. So 400 years ago, Slacky. I'm saying 400 years ago, you got a child that was raped or molested by a conquistador or by, you know, English, French, Russian, Portuguese. I feel like I'm missing two, Slovakia. You understand? And then that child would go and do the same to his or her children, his or her grandchildren, great grandchildren. And then them children would do the same thing to the nieces, to the nephews, to the cousins. And just perpetuating this cycle that utterly destroys our nation. And that right there, that same spirit, the same, you know, spirit of pedophilia that was rubbed off on us as a people, that we passed down through the generations from the experiences that happened to us. You understand? What comes out of that is that, you know, spirit of homosexuality. So in the spirit of being a rapist. And that same thing gets passed down. Same thing happens to different generations. And it's just a cycle that continues and continues until, till we're nothing. So until we are completely and utterly destroyed. But thanks to this book right here, to the Holy Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, and to the teachings of the I.S.U.P.K, these curses not only have been broken, but they will be utterly destroyed since we have the word of the Lord right here. Understand? Because this book right here, it's got the morality that you need in order to not go out and touch some child, to go out and force yourself upon a woman. Saying it's got that morality for you to not, no matter how it is that you want to look at it, whether you want to say it's a white man's book, which I challenge you to show us anything in here that says it's a white man's book. Book follows are black and brown. You can see how the priests and prophets are black and brown. Christ is black. Saying the only time it mentions our oppressor in here is when it talks about how it is that the Lord is going to this earth. I'm saying that's the only thing that is white in this book. 28 and 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. We got to recognize the actions of people now. That was passed down to them because of what somebody had done to them in the past. That's that generational curses. No matter how much we want to, sit there and think we got all these different help groups it is that we can go to in order to get over traumas. No matter if we get facilities, even with different groups out here, even with, us being able to vent to parents and tell them what has happened to us. There's no real solution. And with America being behind us, we can recover from anything. America has been behind us since they were established, or, it's like it claiming to be behind us, giving us support here or there in order for them to, further their own personal agenda. Drug addicts that are getting high in, middle school, alcoholics getting drunk in middle school. Some of us even go as far to be, murderers, especially in our youth. That, once you develop that certain lifestyle, especially when you start young, it's damn near impossible to get rid of. You understand? Once you grow. So us as a nation, especially, look at most of our situations and the condition why we're in it on a broader scale than just, it's our fault we're in this condition. The only thing we got is it's our fault. We should have never did this, right? We shouldn't have. Understand? We should have never. The children of those that raped and mutilated your great grandmother. Those that raped and mutilated your great grandmother. So I'm gonna read that from the top one more time. Deuteronomy 28 and 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Just went over molestation, drug dealing, drug addicts, alcoholism, loving everybody. And the last thing I want to is, with all the past experiences that we've gone through, saying whether it was molestation, and then we turn to drugs, thinking that it's going to help us get over this disgusting act that had happened to us. The drugs don't work, we turn to alcohol. We try them both out, move on to different drugs. Saying we get into LA with this man right here, then it'll make that feeling go away. I'll be able to forget about it. If I sleep with all these women, I'll be able to forget about it. I'm saying the smallest things can destroy a child's mind. And sadly, a large amount of us on the res is like you. And the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks, the fruit, corn, squash, understand, beans and rice, all these different things, even in the worst conditions. But when it came time for our oppressor to come against us, understand, so we were great at growing, corn. And then our oppressor comes through and implements one of his most widely used and well-known tactics is called crops from seeds and nuts. He'd snatch all these things away from us, and anything that was left in our supply rooms or in our fields, he would sit there and burn them. Burn them so that nothing was left and cause for our people to starve to death. And basically, it's just a tactic used to starve out a nation of people, which is a super old tactic. And not only did our oppressor make sure that he used this specific tactic against us, knowing how well it worked, but it much land from us as a nation. You understand? Whether you want to look at when our oppressor first arrived, governments coming in, negotiating for land, claiming it, and chalking it up as a resource of their empire, until you eventually get to the Trail of Tears with complete and utter stuff. So we go from having the best land, having the best crops, the best waters. Understand? Crops just so sweet and juicy. You understand? Soil has been depleted of nutrients. You got GMOs out here. We were just on a different level back then. Saying we had the absolute best. So the things that was just make your taste buds go wild. Saying water back then, you just go up, scoop it up with your hands, drink it. Saying store a little bit to drink for later. So cold and refreshing. Store nutrients for crops and cause them to grow in them areas. There's a handful of possibilities. Let's say expedient at growing certain crops. But our oppressor knew these different lands. He didn't just sit there and say, I'm gonna choose this land right here in the top right corner of Arizona and the top left corner of New Mexico, the bottom left corner or slightly right corner of Colorado, and we'll make this people out in Oklahoma. Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, they should be able to prosper there as a nation. You're saying these people did not sit there and say that. They did not strategize these things. But instead they did sit there and say, hey, Where are the worst pieces of land at in this country? Where is it that we can make life unbearable for these savages? We can't say, oh, no, they didn't say that. They just randomly picked this slot because it was, away from their cities. It wasn't going to be in the way of any major roads. It wasn't near any forts. That's why they chose these territories. So we can't say that with straight faces because we know how it is that these people were to us in the past. So the same way they were to us in the past, I mean, really, they're the same way to us today. We just got to recognize these things. And we got to stop being so goddamn blind and shoot blind, Slagia, as to think that these people just all of a sudden loved us after 400 years. All of a sudden loved us after 100-something years, 200-something years. And they hated our guts then, they hate our guts now. I mean, go look at the news. Go look at the current events. It's lucky. It's like I'm gonna reread that from the top. And the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. So kine is cattle. We all know what sheep are. We all know with the theft in our different territories, that means we also lost our livestock. So one thing we got to recognize is that, I mean, even then the same thing is happening today. So our oppressor forcefully took land from us in the past, took our livestock so that we couldn't, eat, couldn't supply ourselves with meats. And just like what had happened a few years ago, with literally go back into recent events and see where it is that these people are still stealing land from us. So they're moving into what we like to, claim to be sovereign land because our oppressor agreed to it. So these people move in military grade vehicles, weaponry, tactical equipment, body armor, fully trained personnel. They did with that Dapple pipeline. And we can't just sit there and say, no, that's still our land. It's just they just build a pipeline over it. So they just did their thing for their nation to get a little extra resources at the expense of ours. So, but if that was really our land, then why is it that we couldn't even? We went out and tried to defend what was ours, and all of a sudden you get hit with a rubber bullet, you lose an eye, you get a fractured skull. You understand? A broken bone somewhere. All of a sudden you get hit with tear gas. You get a dog sicked on you. Contractors, nonetheless, not just police attack dogs. You understand? War dogs. So he sat there and made you sit in freezing. It's like he made us sit in freezing cold water, just joining arm in arm, just standing there, having a goddamn picnic, while he was still sitting there shooting us and tear gassing us, making sure we stayed in this freezing, rigid water. So if it was really our land, we wouldn't have to go through that. So any of that. But instead, that shows us that our oppressor was protecting what was his. And the same thing has to do with what was that? The border wall that was being put up. How it is that Trump, U.S. government, our oppressor, sat there and stole acres of land. I believe it was the Navajo Nation, suffered for so long at the hands of the U.S. government in order to put up a wall that was knocked down by a fucking hurricane winds. It's like my language. I mean, hey, what more proof do you need that what we claim as being ours, I mean, it isn't. So there's only one thing that is truly ours on the face of this earth that nobody else can take away from us, no matter how much it is they want to try to. And that is the truth in this book right here. So you can't sit here and alter the real inscriptions of these scriptures. I'm saying these scriptures let us know that we are the Lord's chosen people, the ones above all nations. And there ain't nothing that can be done in order to change that. So even if they did rewrite this, well, you think just because they rewrite this is going to change the Lord's mind? That's going to erase Israel out of his devil in there and in Israel's place? So we're going to skip down to verse 23. Give you a second to get there. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 23. The prison system, Spanish first arrived when the British, the French, the Russians, Portuguese, Dutch, and all these different European nations arrived in our lands. And, they'd sit there and go to war with us. You know what I'm saying? So just because we think of, the metal jail cells and prison cells as being something modern. I mean, that was something that was happening to us even back then. Saying, I mean, our oppressor stayed packing us into different, prison cells, jail cells. It's like it didn't matter if we were out in, the wilderness, and these people had just got done, capturing a village or massacring us. They would go out of their way to build up cells, holding facilities in order to any and everyone that they could into them. Especially think like Wild West, looking for a drink, looking for a whore, things along that nature. And no matter what was going on, whether there's being, a shootout going on, a robbery, a bar brawl, it's always our people that are singled out, that are chosen to go through hell in the land of America. So just like we filled up the jails and prisons now, whenever our oppressor got a chance, he would make sure back then that he would put us in a jail or in a prison. We wouldn't even have to do anything, and we'd be thrown in a jail, and they would already have the date of our hanging set out. You know what I'm saying? Laid out in the schedule. And shoot, you don't do, it's like you don't need to do much research in the jail systems. Saying we are one of 3 ethnicities that are the top ones always being arrested. And you can, without a doubt, guess who the top 2 are. I'm saying that would be blacks and Hispanics. I'm saying our brothers that have been suffering alongside us in these different cities, in the fields, in the jail cells, have been suffering alongside us in the Christian Catholic Church. So there's a reason we are all, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, while we're all the main ones being afflicted by these people. It's lucky. And the earth that is under thee shall be iron. So I just want to touch a little bit more on the scripture right here. Targeted and then incarcerated by our oppressor. It's lucky. We don't even have to be, guilty of a crime in order to. They simply tell you, hey, you fit the description of, I'm saying, this guy, that guy that was described at a scene of a crime a block away. Saying you're coming with us, you're going to jail. You choose to resist, you get seized, you get beaten. Hell, you can even spend more jail time if you choose to resist. And there's only other 2 nations they do that to. And that's blacks and Hispanics. You understand? Our brothers that have been going through this alongside us, I mean, since we've been together. And we've always been together. So no matter how it is that you want to put it. Saying, at alarming rates inside the cities of America. We already know, with us being such a small number, that really we're being mass incarcerated. at alarming rates. Same with Hispanics. But we definitely know Hispanics are our brothers because you can just look at the ICE facilities. Look at how it is that, these men, women, and children that did nothing, that are indeed law-abiding citizens, looking to achieve a better life for themselves and their families, how they were wrongfully, convicted, wrongfully accused, and they've been convicted for a hot minute now. So they've been rotting away in themselves, being beaten and raped, molested, coming up missing. So they're being murdered. Indians. It ain't rocket science. It's beyond simple. It's just so many of us are so Christianized. So many of us just choose to love our oppressor above all things that we don't give a damn about those suffering alongside us. So they ain't got nothing to do with our people. Welcome our oppressor with open arms, like a bunch of goddamn fools. Skip down to verse 25. Give you a second. Actually, times 31. Yeah, we'll do verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. In the past, seek refuge. I mean, we already know what a toll these different wars that we had to fight in order to ensure the survival of our people. We already know the toll that it took on us. So we already know of the hundreds and the thousands of lives that were taken from us, all because, our oppressor's hatred for us fueled him in his conquest. Whether we were fighting Portuguese, Dutch, saying all these different European powers that sailed over here seeking new land, seeking wealth and power. So we all know about the sacrifice that our nations had to take. And no matter how many of us decided to join together, which we're about to go into, saying they're here, but at the end of the day, we ultimately lost the war. It's really as simple as that, if we're being honest. It's like, I'm going to read that from the top. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. And after we lost this war from all the underhanded and crafty, disgusting tactics that our oppressor used against us, with so many of our people not only loving America, but still having our warrior spirit about us, we flocked to, all the different branches of the U.S. military. Looking to make some type of impact in, you got World War One, World War Two, the Vietnam War, Korean War. We fought in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? Our people, we stay flocking to America's aid whenever they call upon us. Whenever it is out of our way to help them out. Even if it means we got to lose our own lives. We got to leave our children back at home without a father to raise them. Even if it means we come back absolutely shell-shocked and suffering from PTSD from what we've been through, because we know America put our people through the worst experiences. Put us on. We know that our oppressor did that, because we're always the meat to be thrown into the grinder. And then when we come back, we lash out against our families. We destroy our people even more. You understand? It's like, thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And so just like in the past, whenever we decided to finally rage a war or go to battle against our oppressor, the people that were sitting there and raping our women in front of us still finally had enough. I mean, it's self-explanatory. We came together in federations, different treaties, alliances to come together. A lot of us knew we had a common enemy, and that if we wanted to take care of this common enemy, we needed one another if we wanted to survive. Now, of course, there's some of. I mean, that's such a disgusting mindset to have for those of us that turned our backs on our own. For those of us that joined with our brothers, that decided not to proxy war, hey, that's brotherhood right there. And that is a beautiful thing to join your 8 to 10. Means 10th in the Hebrew. Ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests is non-mandatory. It's whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations, which is the Lord's 51st annual Passover. Date is still to be determined due to the plagues the Lord has unleashed upon the face of this earth in the form of COVID-19. Pants, headband, or a war scarf. With that said, imajim, which means to stand. Wapani hakbadam in Hebrew. Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shumka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Taba'a, Rata Zayika, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arat, Kawar, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathan, Lenawa, Lakam, Call, Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kawabo Wathanawa, Kasalakanawa, Kawabo Wathayanawa, Wala'a, Dabayayanawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Wa'ala, Wathaparith, Lawalamyam, Aman. The Lord's Prayer in the English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be it. Nathanael, Hakak, Hakak, La Rapa'ah, Kal Makala, Wakal Madawa, Hakak, Latahar, Hamad Tazarayan, Hakak, Lahakim, Hamathim, Hakak, Ar Rakawath, Hatama'alu, Lagarshan, by Hashem Yahushai, the Wara'aman. The prayer for the power in the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai. Please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, in the name of Yahushai. Wam Yaka'ala, Walayim, but the Zab Ya'ah, Alawap Yahanna, Ha Alawapyam, Hazaranyam, Ha Kwatazayanyam, Ha Kayayam, Wahakwathian, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, the Wada'aman, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers. In the name of Yahushai, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction, and death to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction, and death to the heathen, and shake loose the pockets of the rich of Israel. Punishment and destruction to the Edomites, and the nations, and the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, Posse Comitazi, the gay movement, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street. Open up the internet and the airways, the cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words. Take at the hands of the plagues. Let Yahushai, Michael, and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and destroy all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Thank you. Always. So be it. Sar, which means a turn. Going to give a courteous salute to the brothers, men of Israel, Manim Shabbat, Maju, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatam, as a matah. We give a courteous salute to the sisters, men of Israel.